Before you meet your soulmate, Allah will break something in your life first, not to hurt you, but to protect what sits coming. If you have been feeling delayed, isolated, or suddenly disconnected from people you once trusted, this video is not an accident. Most people don't realize this until after the meeting happens. But once you see these signs, you'll understand why Allah made you wait. Watch carefully until the end, because one of these signs will expose exactly where you are right now. Tell me in the comments, what time is it where you stay watching from? Before Allah ever allows your soulmate to enter your life, He begins with a step that feels confusing, painful, and deeply personal. Because Allah removes people, attachments, and situations that were never meant to walk with you into your future. This separation often does not come with closure. It comes quietly, through distance, misunderstandings, sudden changes in behavior, or relationships that slowly lose warmth, until you realize you are standing alone, wondering what you did wrong. But this moment is not a sign of your failure. It is a sign of Allah's protection working behind the scenes. Allah knows that every connection you carry shapes the way you love, trust, and attach. If the wrong people remain in your life, they will teach you patterns that do not belong in the relationship Allah is preparing for you. That is why Allah removes those who would bring insecurity, emotional confusion, or unresolved wounds into something meant to be peaceful and halal. Many people mistake this season for punishment. They think Allah is isolating them or testing them beyond their strength. In reality, Allah is refining your emotional environment so that when the right person arrives, your heart is not divided, distracted, or weighed down by unfinished attachments from the past. This is why separation happens before union. Allah clears space in your life because blessings do not enter crowded hearts. If you met your soulmate while still emotionally tied to people who drained you, you would unintentionally damage something Allah intended to protect. If you are experiencing sudden distance from people you once felt close to, or if relationships are ending without dramatic reasons, understand this clearly. Allah is not taking love away from you. He is removing what would interfere with the love that is written for you. Every ending you are walking through right now is creating room for a beginning that will not require you to beg, chase, or shrink yourself. Allah separates you so that when your soulmate arrives, your heart is free enough to recognize peace when it finally stands in front of you. Before Allah allows your soulmate to walk into your life, He brings you into a season where you are forced to confront yourself in ways you never had to before. Because Allah does not unite broken halves, He unites complete souls who can stand on their own without losing themselves. This is the stage where distractions stop working. The noise fades. The people you once leaned on are no longer available. Even things that used to comfort you no longer fill the emptiness. You sit with your thoughts more than you ever wanted to, and for the first time you begin to notice patterns in your emotions, reactions, and expectations that you were previously too busy to face. Allah does this intentionally. If you enter love while still running from your wounds, you will unknowingly expect your soulmate to heal what only Allah can heal. You will place emotional weight on them that was never meant to be carried by another human being. That is why Allah pulls you into solitude, not to punish you, but to teach you self-awareness, emotional responsibility, and inner stability. In this season, Allah teaches you how to self-regulate instead of reacting, how to sit with discomfort instead of escaping it, and how to find peace without needing constant reassurance from others. This is the phase where you learn the difference between wanting companionship and needing validation, because love built on need collapses under pressure, while love built on wholeness becomes a place of rest. Many people break during this stage. They rush into relationships simply to escape loneliness, mistaking attention for connection and availability for compatibility. But Allah delays you here until you no longer feel incomplete on your own. Because the soulmate he is preparing for you is not meant to fix you. They are meant to walk beside you. If you are in a season where you feel emotionally exposed, deeply introspective, and unusually self-aware, understand that Allah is refining your inner world. He is teaching you to love without losing yourself, to attach without dependency, and to connect without fear. This is not a comfortable process, but it is a necessary one. Allah knows that when two souls finally meet, the relationship will only be as strong as the individuals within it. That is why He strengthens you first. When your soulmate arrives, you will not cling, chase, or shrink yourself to be chosen. You will recognize love calmly because you have already learned how to be at peace alone. This stage ends only when you no longer fear solitude, because once solitude no longer controls you, Allah knows you are ready for companionship that is rooted in balance, dignity, and trust. Before Allah allows your soulmate to enter your life, He places you in a season of delay that feels unfair, confusing, and at times emotionally exhausting, because Allah knows that meeting the right person at the wrong time can destroy something that was meant to last a lifetime. This is the phase where you feel left behind. You watch others move forward while your own life seems paused. Engagements happen around you. Marriages are announced. Relationships form easily for others, and silently you begin to wonder why your dua has not been answered yet. You ask yourself what you are doing wrong, why Allah seems silent, and whether you are being overlooked. But this delay is not silence. It is precision. Allah does not work according to urgency. He works according to wisdom. He sees futures you cannot imagine and outcomes you cannot predict. He knows the emotional maturity you still need, the lessons you have not fully absorbed, and the experiences that must shape you before love enters your life in a way that brings peace rather than chaos. If Allah answered your dua too early, you might meet the right person while still reacting from old wounds, still seeking validation, or still defining love through fear instead of trust. You would enter the relationship with expectations your heart is not yet equipped to manage, and what was meant to be a blessing could slowly become a burden. This is why Allah stretches time. Delay teaches you patience without bitterness and hope without desperation. It teaches you how to trust Allah even when you cannot see progress, and how to believe in goodness even when nothing seems to be changing. This stage strips you of comparison, because comparison dies when waiting becomes personal. Many people lose faith here. They rush into what is available instead of waiting for what is written. They lower standards, ignore red flags, and convince themselves that almost right is good enough. But Allah delays you because the soulmate meant for you will not require you to compromise your values, silence your intuition, or rush your healing. If you are still waiting, it is because Allah is protecting you from timing that would hurt you. The delay is guarding you from meeting someone before you are emotionally stable, spiritually grounded, and internally calm. Allah is not preparing just a meeting. He is preparing a future. This stage also teaches you how to surrender control. You realize that no amount of planning, searching, or forcing can accelerate what Allah has scheduled. Love becomes something you trust Allah with, rather than something you chase anxiously, and that shift alone changes the way your heart operates. One day, when the delay ends and the meeting finally happens, you will understand why it could not have occurred sooner. You will look back at this waiting period and realize it protected you from heartbreak you were not ready to survive and mistakes you were not meant to learn from. Allah delays because He loves with foresight. He waits because He knows exactly when your heart, your character, and your destiny will align. And when that alignment happens, the meeting will feel natural, calm, and unmistakably right, because it arrived at the time Allah chose, not the time you demanded. Before Allah allows your soulmate to enter your life, He often takes you through a phase where your attachments are slowly dismantled, because Allah knows that love becomes dangerous when it turns into an idol, and no relationship can survive when it competes with the place only Allah should occupy in your heart. This is the stage where you begin to lose emotional dependence on people, plans, timelines, and even ideas of how your life was supposed to unfold. What once felt essential suddenly feels uncertain. What you thought you needed no longer satisfies you. You may still desire love, but you no longer feel desperate for it, and that shift can feel unsettling because it leaves you standing without the emotional anchors you once relied on. Allah does this not to make you cold, distant, or detached from human connection, but to purify the intention behind your desire for love. When attachment is unhealthy, love becomes a source of anxiety, fear, and control. You begin to chase reassurance, overthink silence, and confuse intensity with depth. Allah removes these attachments because the soulmate He is preparing for you is meant to be a source of tranquility, not emotional chaos. In this phase, Allah teaches you how fragile human hearts are. He allows disappointments to happen, so you learn that people, no matter how sincere, cannot carry the weight of your expectations. This realization is painful, but it is freeing, because it redirects your reliance back to the only one who never leaves, never changes, and never disappoints. Many people resist this stage. They cling harder, chase faster, and force connections to avoid sitting with the discomfort of emotional emptiness. But Allah allows the emptiness to remain until you learn the lesson hidden inside it, that love is a gift, not a savior, and companionship is meant to complement your life, not complete your faith. This is also where your relationship with Allah deepens quietly. Your du'as become less demanding and more trusting. You stop asking Allah for timelines and start asking Him for clarity, contentment, and guidance. Your heart begins to soften, not toward people, but toward surrender. And surrender is the doorway to peace. Allah knows that if you enter a relationship while still idolizing love, you will tolerate disrespect, ignore red flags, and compromise your values just to avoid being alone. That is why He strips the illusion away first. He wants you to choose your soulmate freely, not from fear, loneliness, or emotional hunger. When this lesson is complete, love no longer feels like something you need to survive. It becomes something you are open to receiving, without panic or obsession. You trust Allah enough to know that if love is written for you, it will arrive without you having to chase it, force it, or lose yourself in the process. This is the moment Allah knows your heart is safe. Safe from worshipping people. Safe from making love your God. Safe from expecting a human being to fill a space that only Allah was meant to fill. And only then does Allah begin to move the final pieces into place, because a heart that relies on Him first will never be destroyed by love. Before Allah allows your soulmate to enter your life, He takes you through a quiet, unseen process where He begins to heal wounds you never fully acknowledged, because Allah knows that love exposes what pain hides, and anything unhealed will eventually surface in the closest relationship you ever have. This is not loud healing. It does not happen in front of people. It happens in private moments, when memories return without warning, when old conversations replay in your mind, when emotions rise from places you thought you had already moved past. You may not even realize healing is taking place, because it often feels like exhaustion, emotional sensitivity, or a strange heaviness you cannot explain. Allah allows this because He knows that unresolved pain does not disappear when love arrives. It transfers, it turns into fear of abandonment, mistrust, overthinking, emotional withdrawal, or constant reassurance seeking. And the soulmate Allah has written for you is not meant to inherit pain they did not cause. This stage is where Allah gently brings your hidden wounds to the surface so they can finally breathe. The rejection you never processed, the betrayal you minimized, the moments you told yourself it doesn't matter when it actually shaped the way you love. Allah does not rush this process because rushed healing creates emotional scars that reopen under pressure. You may notice during this time that you become more emotionally aware. Things that once didn't affect you suddenly do. Your tolerance for disrespect lowers, your intuition sharpens. You feel discomfort where you once stayed silent. This is not weakness. This is healing gaining clarity. Many people mistake this phase for regression. They think they are going backward because emotions resurface. But healing is not linear. Allah brings pain back not to hurt you again, but to remove what was buried instead of healed. What comes to the surface is leaving your system for good. Allah also teaches you compassion for yourself here. You stop blaming yourself for what you endured. You stop questioning why something affected you so deeply. You begin to understand that survival required strength, but healing requires gentleness. And Allah is incredibly gentle with hearts that are finally honest. This is why you may feel emotionally quieter during this stage, less reactive, less dramatic. You are not shutting down, you are stabilizing. Allah is teaching your nervous system safety again, so that when love arrives, peace feels familiar instead of suspicious. If you are healing silently right now, know this: Allah sees the nights no one else sees, the thoughts you never share, the emotions you never post. And He values this work more than you realize. Because a healed heart does not sabotage love, test loyalty unnecessarily, or project old fears onto new beginnings. When this lesson is complete, love will not feel threatening. Intimacy will not feel dangerous. You will no longer expect pain as the cost of closeness, and that is when Allah knows you are ready. Because the soulmate written for you is meant to meet a heart that is open without being fragile and trusting without being naive. Allah heals you privately so you can love peacefully, and peace is the language of love He intends for you. Before Allah allows your soulmate to step into your life, He enters a phase that many people misunderstand, because instead of changing your circumstances, Allah begins to change who you are when no one is watching. And this is one of the longest and most demanding stages of preparation. This is the season where Allah focuses on your character more than your desires. Your reactions are tested. Your patience is stretched. Your intentions are exposed. Situations appear not to give you what you want, but to show you who you are becoming. You may feel challenged in ways that seem unrelated to love. But Allah is not distracted. He is deliberate. Allah knows that attraction can bring two people together, but only character keeps them together. Love that survives time, trials, and responsibility is not sustained by emotions alone. It is sustained by restraint, humility, emotional intelligence, and fear of Allah. That is why Allah reshapes your inner behavior before He allows you to share life with another soul. During this stage, you may notice that Allah places you in situations that trigger old habits just to see if you still respond. The same way, you are tested with frustration to see if you still explode. You are tested with disappointment to see if you still complain. You are tested with silence to see if you still assume the worst. Each test is an invitation to grow, not a trap to fail. This is also when Allah teaches you emotional discipline. You begin to pause before reacting. You reflect instead of responding immediately. You feel emotions deeply but no longer allow them to control your actions. This is not because you care less. It is because Allah is teaching you balance. A soulmate does not need someone who feels intensely but reacts destructively. They need someone who can feel deeply and still remain safe. Not He also works on your ego here. He humbles you in subtle ways. He reminds you that being right is less important than being gentle. that winning arguments is less valuable than preserving hearts, and that love cannot survive pride. This stage can feel uncomfortable because it requires unlearning behaviors that once protected you but now limit you. You may also notice that your standards become clearer during this time, not harsher, but healthier. You stop being impressed by surface-level charm. You stop confusing confidence with arrogance and attention with effort. Allah sharpens your discernment so that when you finally meet your soulmate, you recognize alignment instead of illusion. Another heavy part of this stage is accountability. Allah teaches you to take responsibility for your emotional state instead of blaming others. You begin to notice how your moods affect people, how your words carry weight, and how your silence can either heal or harm. This awareness is not meant to burden you. It is meant to prepare you for companionship that requires care, presence, and maturity. This is also when Allah strengthens your relationship with truth. You become more honest with yourself about what you want, what you fear, and what you are no longer willing to tolerate. You stop romanticizing potential and start respecting consistency. This clarity protects you from entering relationships where you would have to explain your worth repeatedly. Allah knows that love exposes character more than any other experience. Under stress, under responsibility, under emotional closeness, who you truly are will surface. That is why Allah refines you before love arrives, not after. He prepares you to lead with mercy, to communicate with wisdom, and to hold another heart without suffocating it. This stage can feel long because character takes time to reshape. It requires repetition, reflection, failure, and correction. Allah allows you to stumble here because learning humility matters more than appearing perfect. Every correction Allah gives you now is saving your future relationship from pain later. You may also feel during this phase that Allah is teaching you how to love Him differently. Your worship becomes less transactional and more sincere. You stop praying only for outcomes and start praying for alignment. You ask Allah to make you a source of peace, not just a receiver of it. This shift transforms the way you will love another human being. When this lesson nears completion, something subtle happens. You feel calmer in situations that once triggered you. You choose silence where you once argued. You walk away from chaos without explaining yourself. This is not emotional shutdown. This is emotional mastery. Allah has taught you how to protect peace without losing compassion. Allah knows that the soulmate written for you will meet you in everyday moments, not dramatic ones. They will see how you handle stress, disappointment, responsibility, and routine. That is why Allah prepares you for the ordinary, because lasting love is built there. By the time this stage ends, you are no longer asking Allah for love to complete you. You are asking Allah to allow you to share what you have already become. And that is the sign Allah waits for. Because when love arrives at this stage, it does not overwhelm you. It integrates into your life naturally. Allah rebuilds your character because He loves you enough to protect what is coming. And when your soulmate finally arrives, they will not meet the old version of you that would have damaged the connection. They will meet someone capable of sustaining what Allah brings. Before Allah finally allows your soulmate to enter your life, He brings you to the most sacred and misunderstood stage of all, a stage where He quietly removes your desperation for love and replaces it with deep reliance on Him, because Allah will never allow another human being to become what only He was meant to be in your heart. This is the stage where something profound shifts inside you. You still desire love, companionship, and connection, but you no longer feel incomplete without them. The ache turns into calm, the waiting turns into trust, the longing turns into surrender. And this transformation does not happen suddenly. It happens gradually through countless small moments where Allah proves to you that He is enough, even when nothing else arrives. In this phase, Allah teaches you how fragile human expectations are. You begin to realize that even the best people cannot always show up perfectly, cannot always understand you fully, and cannot always meet your emotional needs consistently. And instead of becoming bitter about this truth, your heart softens, because you finally understand that humans were never meant to replace Allah's role in your life. This is when your du'as change. You stop begging Allah to send someone quickly, and you start asking Allah to keep your heart steady, protected, and content, no matter what the timing looks like. You no longer measure your worth by whether someone chooses you, messages you, or commits to you. Your worth becomes anchored in Allah's closeness, not people's presence. Many people never reach this stage because it requires releasing the illusion that love will save them. It requires letting go of the fantasy that meeting the right person will fix the emptiness, erase past pain, or finally make life feel complete. Allah dismantles that illusion gently but firmly, because if love becomes your salvation, it will also become your greatest fear. In this stage, Allah teaches you emotional independence without emotional coldness. You become open without being needy, caring without being attached, and hopeful without being desperate. You stop chasing signs from people and start recognizing signs from Allah, and those signs are quieter, deeper, and far more reassuring. This is also when Allah gives you peace that no relationship could ever provide, a peace that does not depend on consistency from others, reassurance from messages, or validation from attention. You begin to enjoy solitude, not because you are avoiding people, but because your heart feels full even in silence. Loneliness no longer defines you. It passes through you without staying. Allah knows that if you enter love before reaching this stage, you will unconsciously place pressure on your soulmate to regulate your emotions, fill your emptiness, and stabilize your sense of self. And no relationship can survive under that weight. That is why Allah waits until your heart is grounded in Him first. During this phase, Allah also sharpens your spiritual vision. You begin to recognize red flags without overthinking. You sense misalignment without needing proof. You trust your intuition because it has been trained through reliance on Allah, not fear. You stop romanticizing struggle and start valuing peace. This is where tawakkul becomes real, not just a concept. You genuinely believe that what is written for you will reach you without force, manipulation, or chasing. You stop refreshing timelines, comparing paths, and questioning your worth. You trust that Allah's plan does not require your anxiety to function. Something else happens here that many people don't talk about. You begin to feel grateful even for unanswered prayers. You realize that some delays saved you from emotional damage you weren't ready to survive. Some people who never stayed were mercy, not loss. Some endings were protection disguised as pain. This realization humbles you deeply. It makes you gentle with yourself and with others. You stop resenting people who found love earlier and stop judging people who are still waiting. Your heart becomes expansive, patient, and merciful. And this inner softness is one of the strongest signs that Allah is close. Allah also teaches you how to love Him in this stage without conditions. You worship not because you want something, but because you trust Him. You obey not out of fear, but out of intimacy. Your relationship with Allah becomes less transactional and more relational. And this intimacy changes the way you will love another human being. When this lesson is complete, something subtle but unmistakable happens. You stop asking, "When will it happen?" and start saying, "Whenever Allah knows it's best," and you actually mean it. Your heart rests in that truth, without tension. This is the moment Allah waits for, because when Allah is enough for you, love no longer threatens you. You will not cling, control, or compromise your values out of fear of loss. you will love freely, securely, and with dignity. And that is the kind of love Allah blesses. When your soulmate finally enters your life after this stage, they will not complete you. They will complement you. They will not replace Allah in your heart. They will walk beside you, not ahead of you, and not instead of Him. And that is why the connection will feel calm, safe, and unmistakably right. Allah delays until your heart is anchored in Him, because only a heart that relies on Allah first can love another soul without fear. And when that moment arrives, you will realize something that changes everything. The waiting was not empty time. It was sacred preparation. If you are still waiting right now, still wondering why love has not arrived, still questioning Allah's timing, understand this clearly and gently. Nothing about your journey has been wasted. Every delay shaped you. Every separation protected you. Every lonely night strengthened you. Allah was not withholding love from you. He was preparing you for a love that would not break you. The waiting was not empty. It was sacred. Allah was teaching your heart how to remain steady, how to trust without seeing, and how to rely on Him without conditions. He was building a foundation strong enough to hold another soul without collapsing under fear, expectation, or desperation. And when the right person finally enters your life, it will not feel rushed, chaotic, or uncertain. It will feel calm. It will feel safe. It will feel aligned, because what comes from Allah never arrives with anxiety. So if you are alone tonight, know this: you are not forgotten. You are being guarded. You are being guided. And what Allah has written for you is already moving toward you in ways you cannot see. Trust Him in the silence. Trust Him in the delay. Trust Him even when your heart grows tired. Because Allah never makes you wait for something that is not worth the patience. May Allah unite hearts in halal, peace, and mercy. And may He grant you a love that brings you closer to Him, not further away. Ameen.